Hi friends, welcome back to Lux Unfiltered, where we talk about healing, but not the Instagram healing aesthetic kind of stuff, the real stuff. The grief, the age, the rage, the unbearable softness it takes to live through it all and try again tomorrow. Today's episode is all about trauma. This one is for the over-explainers, the fixers, the maybe if I understand why they hurt me, it'll hurt less kind of crowd. And yes, that includes me. I want to start with a quote that gutted me the first time I heard it. I was in therapy defending someone who I loved and who deeply hurt me. And I said, but they weren't evil. They were just broken. They had their own trauma. And my therapist, bless her, said, that's valid. But let me ask you something. Did their trauma give them the right to create new trauma inside you? And I just sat there, absolutely silent, because I had no answer. But today, I do. So let's talk about it. I grew up defending the knife. For most of my life, I defended the people who hurt me because that's what I was taught to do. Put yourself in their shoes. Be grateful for what you have. Always understand their side of the story. Don't be dramatic. Don't make it worse. Don't overreact. I learned very quickly that emotional survival required justification. If I could make sense of the chaos, I could feel safer inside it. If I can explain away the shouting, the silence, the absence, the coldness, maybe it wouldn't break me. I was told that I was too sensitive, too much, that I misread things, that I imagined tone, meaning, harm, but I wasn't wrong. I was overstimulated, undiagnosed, and mirroring the energy that was handed to me and being punished for it. And let's be clear, my father had a lot of trauma. But what did he do with it? Did he work through it? Heal it? Choose differently? No. He gave up on me because I was hard to love. Or at least that's the story my ego told me. And I've spent the better part of a decade unlearning the belief that if someone struggles to love you, it must be your fault. Let me be clear before the overthinkers at the back here spiral. You can understand someone's trauma. You can even empathize with it deeply, but that does not mean that they get a free pass to hurt you. Trauma is an explanation. It is not an excuse. And it is definitely not a hall pass to recreate the pain someone else gave them, especially not inside you. There's something quietly soul-destroying about knowing someone's past, seeing how their parents failed them, how their lives shaped them, still realizing that none of that stopped them from harming you, because they could have chosen better and didn't. That's what makes this kind of harm so sneaky, because it becomes wrapped in a tragic little bow. It convinces you that they didn't mean to hurt you, which somehow becomes so the pain shouldn't count. But it does count, and it changed you. It broke something in you, and I'm so sorry that you were left alone to deal with it. So let's talk about my parents, shall we? Yeah, my father had trauma, and he was raised without love. And sure, parenting me, undiagnosed, sensitive, and deeply intuitive, wasn't easy. What did he do with that, though? He gave up. He vanished. And I say all that with a hell of a lot of sarcasm that I can muster because I've spent the last 10 years no contact. And I've had to listen to people tell me, I'm sure it hurts him too. He probably loves you in his own way. You should reach out, be the bigger person. Why? Why the fuck should I shrink myself into being the bigger person? Why should I chase someone who has never even wanted to be caught? The truth is, if it hurt him, he would have tried. He would have picked up the phone. He wouldn't have let his eldest child disappear into the ether. That's not trauma. That's a choice. One of the shadow work questions I ask myself when I'm going through a lot of this uncovering is, what hurt have I been excusing in others that I would never justify for myself? What would I say if a friend came to me with this story? Write that down. Let it get messy. The truth doesn't always have to be poetic to be real. And also, you don't need to censor yourself when you're doing these things. This is about letting out what's in and allowing light to show on the shadow. So we need to be precise here. um, there's something, I need to say for me, for you, for the part of us that is still trying to understand why. My parents were deeply traumatized people. My dad wasn't just emotionally unavailable, he was completely emotionally exiled. That didn't just fail to love me in the way that I needed. They didn't know how to love themselves. And I don't mean that in like the romanticized, pitying way. I mean it in the observant, painful way that makes everything click. They were disconnected from themselves. They abandoned their own inner child long before they ever became parents. And so when I came into the world, loud and intuitive, needing, feeling, mirroring them, I think it was too much, too confronting, too real, too raw. My father didn't know what to do with someone like me because someone like me, sensitive, smart, reactive, complex, reminded him of what he hated in himself. So he opted out. And my ego tells me that he didn't love me and that I wasn't worth fighting for. But the deeper truth is, he couldn't love me because he didn't love himself. And I triggered every inch of that self rejection by just existing. It's taken years of therapy and reflection and shadow work to accept this. His abandonment of me started long after he abandoned himself. And that doesn't make the pain go away, but it makes mine easier to release because it's not mine to carry. One of the shadow prompts I used when I sort of discovered this is, where have I mistaken someone else's self-hatred as a rejection of me? And as somebody with RSD and autism and ADHD, I really struggle with that. I feel like I've internalized that a lot of people are just automatically going to reject me, because that's always sort of been what my nervous system has experienced. So it's easy to default to, it's my fault, I need to fix it, when actually sometimes it has absolutely nothing to do with me and people are just projecting it, right? So I have to look at what parts of myself did I start to hate because they hated that. And once you start tapping into that, you're able to look at the shadow and allow yourself to let go, or at least be more compassionate about it. I used to say things like, they didn't mean to hurt me. They were just struggling. They had a lot on their plate. As if that somehow made the wound cleaner, as if understanding the knife made it stop cutting. But the truth is, I was bleeding and still defending the blade. That's not forgiveness. That's self-abandonment dressed up as empathy. And I think empathy is something that is so hard to take back and to learn how to manage, because sometimes you can be too empathetic, you can feel too much, you can want to understand why to a point that is self-destructive. I stayed in relationships, romantic, platonic, familial, way longer than I should have because of it. Not because they weren't good for me, but because I was desperate to feel loved, to feel seen, to feel anything close to acceptance. I had been chasing since childhood. I put myself in dangerous situations just to get a crumb of connection. And that's not dramatic. That's survival, I guess. I was raised to see that love came with caveats, that I had to earn it, prove myself, make myself smaller, easier, quieter, that if I could just be palatable enough, I'd finally get a taste of safety. But what actually happened is I became really good at betraying myself. You know how people say they did the best they could? Yeah, maybe. But their best harmed me, and that matters. We've talked about impact and versus intent, and how you might not mean to do something, but impact, has important consequences. And my mother tried, I know, and my father didn't. I think he relied on her to do it all. And I think she defended him at my expense constantly. I was forced to reach out, to be the one to fix things, to be the bigger person again and again and again, all the while being told that he loved me, that he just didn't know how to show it, that it hurt him too. You know what hurts more? Having to chase down love from someone who has already decided they don't want to give it to you. That level of invalidation, that gaslighting, it doesn't just distort your sense of self, it distorts your sense of others. You start thinking maybe you're too sensitive. Maybe you are too much. Maybe you're not trying hard enough to be lovable. But here's what shifted inside me. I realized I don't need that kind of love. I don't need to prove my worth to someone who chose not to see it. I'm the person I am in spite of them, not because of them. And that realization saved me. For the longest time, boundaries felt mean to me, selfish, cold. Like I was rejecting people I should be bending over backwards to keep. I know now that wasn't me being cruel. That was my trauma lying to me again. When you're neurodivergent and raised in a home where your needs are always too much, boundaries feel dangerous. They feel like you're slamming a door when really you're finally locking one that's been wide open in a hurricane. And let me be clear, you are not a bad person for walking away. You are not cruel for protecting your peace, and you are not dramatic for saying, this hurts and I'm not okay with it anymore. Boundaries are not punishments. They're just clarity about what you will and won't allow in your life anymore. They're not used to control other people. And yeah, sometimes that clarity means going no contact. People act like no contact is impulsive, like it's some petty, explosive, reactionary move. And I get it. I have ADHD. I'm impulsive. I do weird shit. However, going no contact with my father, that wasn't a tantrum. That was a decision made from years of silence, years of being told to try harder, years of reaching out and being met with nothing. Why am I supposed to maintain contact with someone who gives me nothing good? What's the point of keeping a line open when there's never going to be a call? My cutoff was radical because it had to be. Not because I hate him, but because I finally love me. With my mother, it's a bit different. It's not no contact, it's curated contact. I recently had to say, I would love to talk to you more, but right now, the only time you message me is after midnight in my time zone. Surely I'm your firstborn. You'd want to speak to me. Maybe you would make the time. And look, I'm grateful that I can have these conversations with her and that she's open minded enough to listen and to hear that she has caused harm or needs to make amends or potentially fix things. And I know that she's willing to, and I want to honor that as well, because it is hard to be the person who has to take on the brunt of someone's feelings, right? And I have the right to do it, and it doesn't make it any easier for her just because I can, right? And I honor the fact that it's an incredibly difficult task to do. But she also understands that to have a relationship with me, she needs to be able to hold that pain that she caused. And I'm lucky to be able to have that kind of a conversation. Again, I know this. And it's not going to blow anything up if I say, hey, maybe make an effort if this is how you want to communicate with me, because this doesn't work. And we talked about setting boundaries, and it's about being like, hey, this doesn't work for me. And you're not going to get an answer from me if we don't change something. But I've also stopped expecting more than she can give. I accept that she loves me in her way, and I decide where and how to let her in. And that's not cruelty. That's peace. Here's the part that no one warns you about with no contact. You don't just grieve the person you let go of. You grieve the version of them that never existed. The fantasy, the parent or the partner or the friend you hoped they'd be. Letting go of that doesn't mean you stop loving them. It just means that you're starting to love yourself more. And again, another truth, I still crave external validation. I still scroll on dating apps when I'm sad or lonely, and I still want to send that text just to feel seen. I know what I'm doing. And I also know that it's not going to give me what I really want. Because what I really want is to be held and to be chosen and to be understood without needing to perform for it. And when that doesn't come, I'm learning not to chase it, but to ask myself instead, what part of me is aching right now? And how can I tend to it myself without demanding someone else to fix it? So when it's late at night and I'm lonely and I just want validation and to be seen, I allow myself to scroll a little bit because we honor the inner teenager, the inner child. And then we also go in and say, hey, what do we want right now? And how can we fix it together? It's like gentle parenting yourself. It's exhausting. Because yes, external validation is good and it feels nice. Being seen, loved, worshipped, it's meant to feel good and it's supposed to be a part of our lives. But when you've been left, dismissed, or emotionally abandoned over and over and over again, that desire becomes a compulsion. And you start mistaking scraps for meals. I had to grieve the fact that I did not get the parents I needed. And I got one who tried in their own flawed way. And then I got one who couldn't be asked to show up. Instead of chasing the fantasy version of them, I've decided to curate the way I allow them in, or not at all, in my father's case. And that grief really, really burns. It'll knock the wind out of you. You'll cry, you'll sleep for days, you'll spiral, but you'll survive it. And what comes next is lighter. It's softer, cleaner. I need to say this, especially for those of us in chronic pain or that have autoimmune conditions, fibro, CPTSD. If you don't let this grief move through you, it will live inside you. It'll root itself in your joints, your gut, your nervous system, because your body remembers what your brain tries to compartmentalize. We are not meant to logic our way out of our trauma. We are meant to feel it. And for autistic folks, especially, that phrase can be maddening. It took me up until very recently to understand what it means to say, feel your feelings. The fuck does that mean? Feelings are physical, not abstract, not just ideas. They are sensations inside your body, a tight chest, nausea, the urge to scream, shaking, the weight behind your eyes. If you run from those signals, you will store them in your shoulders, your stomach, your jaw. Years later, you won't remember what the argument was, but your body will. So please give yourself the space to scream, to shake, to cry. Let the big, scary bad leave your body. You will feel lighter. You will feel clearer. You will come home to yourself. You're not broken for wanting love. You're not bitter for walking away. And you're not cruel for deciding that their story no longer gets to write yours. The moment you stop defending harm and start honoring your own pain, that's the moment you begin again. And you deserve to begin again as often as you need to. If you made it this far, I'm very proud of you. This is the kind of healing that's messy and nonlinear, the kind that breaks you down and rebuilds you, the kind that makes you scream into pillows one day and laugh over tea the next. If you have the space for it right now, come back into your body. Run a warm bath, sit by the window, or grab one of our balms or infused teas and let yourself rest. Your nervous system deserves softness too. Subscribers of the podcast and the newsletter get a little extra goodies, samples, and some gentle support from me. So you can sign up to the Substack. And you can use code Substack for 20% off your first order on our website. Let me end this with 2 quotes from people that I admire a lot. This first one is from Esther Perel. Love is not a reward for suffering. It is not a prize for endurance. It's a meeting of 2 whole people, not a rescue mission. And a quote from the Slumflower herself, Jadera. Being alone and at peace is far better than being surrounded and poorly treated. Okay, that's it. Take care of you. Love you. Bye.